I was once asked this on a marae Arowhena with a bunch of youngsters. I remember saying to them, because I had it quoted back at me 20 years later. I remember you. I remember what you said to me. I was a kid. All I said to him was, and tomorrow, when you look at that mountain from the edge of Pukaki, when you look up at that mountain, you'll be looking at yourself in the face.
I was one of 14 participants on the pilot program in 2006. The significant part of that was that it was the first Aoraki bound ever. We were the guinea pigs. It'd been 4 years of working between Ngai Tahu and Outward Bound to create that pilot, so there was a lot of energy, a lot of effort had gone in, and this was the big event. Straight away I knew this was something massive for me in my life. But I was also 20 and I was in the thick of growing up. So I really consider Aoraki Bound as a rite of passage. And a twofold rite of passage. One, growing up into a man, becoming a young man, and two, becoming Ngai Tahu, or feeling Ngai Tahu. And I remember my mum telling me when I got back, she said, "Wow, Te Aki, you've grown up. You're doing the dishes without me asking you."
The little things.
It's the little things, and it was very much those little things. We went through this incredible feedback session. Must have been for me it felt like 12 hours or so in a tent giving each other feedback, the whole group giving one person feedback. And I had 13 people that I had grown to love, trust and deeply respect tell me, "Te Aki, it's time to grow up. You've got so much potential, and what are you doing with it?" And I went back and I was Te Aki full throttle. You know, I went from being a C to a B grade student to an A plus grade student because I just got into life. I kind of jumped in. I found my passion, and I channeled my energy there. And a lot of things that I had been doing, they kind of fell by the wayside.
They come to Aoraki Bound as individuals, as people who don't know each other. They don't know, a lot of them don't know what they're getting themselves into. You know, and as they go through the 21 days, they explore things inside themselves and outside themselves and become part of an integrated network. They become part of an iwi or become part of a whānau. Or they just get better at being a wife or a husband or a mother or a child. And so for them, they discover that they're part of a bigger thing, a bigger world, and what a beautiful thing to give someone.
Well, the original vision was to offer some of our younger people the opportunity to experience the physical and cultural opportunities of Outward Bound, and to blend with that a uniquely kaitahu element of te reo, understanding, perception, how we saw particular plants, We certainly see trees and things differently from others because we have a different corpus of knowledge around those things. It was never seen as a rehabilitative exercise, rather as giving people an opportunity to develop dimensions of themselves they might not otherwise have the opportunity to do. There owes a lot to those, particularly Ian and Craig, who first saw the opportunity. Didn't have any fancy vision statements. They said this is a good thing to do, and we went and did it.
Good for the night time. Parts of it, the Ihu, the K, and the one. As Craig mentioned before, one, for the sets the rhythm, sets the timing. So 1 and 2, very important that they can paddle together and work together. It sets the timing. They don't have to have the big strength and the power.
I didn't grow up, with our people. Even though I grew up in Christchurch, I didn't grow up amongst our communities. So when I did become involved, I suppose I really yearned to find my place and all that as well. The Uncle Kelly Davis was a person who really challenged young people like myself when we first showed up at Tauranga, and one of the things he said to us was, if you haven't seen your tupuna maunga, then who are you, and how can you stand up and do your pepeha? That sat with us, and years down the track got an opportunity to go on Outward Bound. And that was June and July we went in 2003.
It was a master's. It was called a master's course back then. It was a great experience. And one thing that I found, it pushed you to your limits. It challenged you. Pushed you outside of the comfort zone. But one thing it didn't have was connection to Aotearoa, connection to Te Waipounamu. There was no real connection to Tiawa, the mana whenua up in Anakiwa. There was no reference to the natural environment. Well, I found using whakatauki, kiwaha, etc. It just lacked, taha Māori. So, waka has been a huge tradition for in the Pacific and for Māori and for Ngaitahu. And now, the World Champs are coming up in 7 months, and there's 56 countries going to be representing waka, paddling waka ama, or ba'a is the other term.
Patsy Bass used to work at Tauranga. She also had an involvement with Outward Bound. Of course, we all said, we loved it, it was awesome, we were all really pumped up. But we did say we felt that the Māori content was probably not as good as it could be, and we thought that maybe Outward Bound could do better. And I suppose she's the one that said to us, well, maybe you should tell Outward Bound that. And in that conversation that day between us four, the word Aoraki Bound was said.
That was in 2004, the conversation started occurring. 2005 there was a delegation came from Outward Bound to Ngaitahu. There was a hui at Rapaki, and it was kind of signed, sealed and delivered really. Let's try and do a course, in March 2006. And to come from 2006 to now, 10 years, and celebrate the 10th year, it's been amazing. There's been over 250 people have done the course, and they've really enjoyed it. It's a good understanding to what Aotearoa is like and who we are and the history behind where we've come from.
One of the key things about having Aoraki Bound up in the top end of the island is that's where we began. Kaihinu is right there. It's the first place we arrived at into Waipounamu. So in a sense, it's the beginning of our story as a people in this land, the Waipounamu. And Aoraki Bound gives you the opportunity to expose a certain number of people every year to that fact. So what you're doing is, hey, it's our identity, it's our Gallipoli.
The Aoraki bound kaupapa is a pretty impressive mix. The program is very dependent on those cohort leaders, their willingness and ability to continue with this.
So I've been on Aoraki Bound for 5 years now, and I've grown up with it in lots of ways. I've become an adult over these years. I started when I was in my mid-20s. I've learned how to read where people are at, what people need, what I need, and the honesty I need to have with my own development. It helps you be honest with yourself, honest with who you are at the core of who you are and what really makes you tick. And so it pushes you to explore what the extent of your potential, but it also makes you honest with where you are at presently.
Never thought it would be, if you had asked me 4 or 5 years ago at the start of my journey if I'd be in a position to be imparting cultural knowledge, I would have laughed at you. But it's a real honour, it's a privilege really, because I can certainly sympathise with people who are just beginning a journey of cultural knowledge, especially around ngaitahutanga, their culture, heritage and identity are all things I want to help people get more in tune with, certainly.
So do you reckon all that, you see that white?
I must have instructed 6 or so courses, which is around 80, 70 to 80 people. I don't do it necessarily as an instructor. There's this huge body of knowledge and wisdom and whakapapa and genealogy behind me that I'm just being a channel for. I've seen this multitude of different experiences paddling off on their waka with new inspiration, new fuel for their fire, new ideas, new connections. It's hard to describe in words how much that feeds me as an instructor, watching and witnessing that.
I was at a whānau hui up at the marae, and Te Aki gave a presentation on Aoraki Bound, and it was sort of a turning point for me because I just recently found my whakapapa to the place, and I'd found my dad, who I had never known, and was raised in a Pākehā family, and tikanga was foreign to me, and I felt a lot of things as a kid, but I didn't know what, you know. So all of a sudden, I belonged here, and I had always sort of known that I was part Māori, but I didn't have any whakapapa, so I could never, didn't know where I stood, and so I thought, this would be perfect for me to learn about a little bit about my history and kaitahutanga, really, about being ngāi tahu, and I was at a point where I needed to know some stuff, just to carry on and to take up a place on my marae.
We have another brother back home whose birthday it is today. They've become your time clock.
I found Aoraki Bound allowed me to bring out the real tioni. I was no longer a son. I was no longer a partner. I was no longer a brother. I was just tioni. And it was like, okay, we'll just be tioni. Our family in the North Island has strong ties and strong communications with Ngāi Tahu. My father, had made this connection with Ngāi Tahu and was doing, great work throughout Te Waipunama. But we weren't able to participate just purely because of the, North and South Island divide. It was a longing to want to fill that. understand, to complete the confidence when I stand. And that's, for me, that's what Aoraki Bound did. Just went, okay, yes, you're Piri's son. It's hard to get out of Dad's light. But what I've sort of discovered was, well, I'll just be the light instead. And I took that into all my relationships now, whether it be professional or personal. I grew as a man, e tupu e rea, ka tupu koe he tangata. Hey, so, yeah.
One of the main kaupapa for Turunanga o Ngāi Tahu, the main organisation, is raising the Ngāi Tahutanga of our people. And this course here is one of the real foundation blocks of how we actually go about doing that.
It's creating that whanaungatanga, so bringing Ngāi Tahu whānau and others, they're not all Ngāi Tahu, but bringing them in from around the country and creating those networks. So they end up within an alumni that they're going to continue working with and liaising with and bounce, friendships, and that's priceless. And it brings our marae closer together. So if you have a look today, we had Wairewa, Puketeraki, Ngāti Waiwai, I think there was Kiri in there. And it's actually then connecting the hapu from around the regions so that in the future we'll have a tribe that's more well connected than what we've ever been. A lot of the ones that are working for the tribe now have been through Aoraki Bound. So it's helped them with their own awareness, grow their own self-identity, etc., but make them stronger and also tackle on the challenges. I can do this. Having that real attitude of, actually, I can do this.
I had it described to me by our instructor how I was in a group. She said to me that I was a leader, but from the middle of the group. And I didn't realise that that was a form of leadership, and I definitely didn't realise that that was kind of a form of leadership that was okay or that was a good thing. I've taken that into my adult life because I'm a project manager in construction and work a lot with tūhui. I have got a lot more confidence, or I feel a lot more comfortable in that setting because of my experience at Aoraki Bound. And I think a lot of that is just the realising that you're a small part in a very big system,
For an iwi, a collective of some sort to invest in this is really saying we want dynamic, innovative, complex leaders who are really true to who they are, and their culture is the core of that. For Ngāi Tahu, going forward, using this as one of the core investments in leadership development is really saying something about where the iwi might be heading in a generation's time.
There's lots of different types of people that come on Aoraki Bound. We have people that are involved in the iwi from the time they're born, so they know who they are, their identity is strong. We have people that haven't been involved with the iwi but are part of our tribe. Definitely people who start day one, really quiet, quite reserved, head down maybe. We've seen a lot of young males like that. Then by day 19, 20, when we're up here, especially on Pukaki and confronted by Aoraki, they're actually standing up straight, you know. They're proud, they're talking to other people, which on day 1 they weren't, or even day 5 they weren't. They're confident in their pepeha, they're standing up every time there's manuhiri, they're starting to learn how to respond to those things. And they might even do a whai kōrero at the end of their course back to their whānau. And I mean, that's an amazing achievement for someone in day 1 that couldn't even speak to another person.
The course really strips you down to bare basics. It strips you down to the core of your function. You have to get rid of those superficial stereotypes and those superficial identities that you carry in your daily life. It creates this 3 weeks space of trust and honesty and safety for you to explore that in a really constructive manner.
You look like over laughing. I need some. There you go. On the face, on the face.
And we're going to whakanoa, we're going to cleanse ourselves of these pressures. And we're going to actually leave all of that baggage and heaviness that we may have brought unconsciously or consciously to Aoraki bound. We're going to wash that away. We're going to start...
It's amazing today how many able younger people we've got who can competently handle the whai kōrero on the marae in a way which gives the rest of us pride. I can remember watching tūhoi, watching their leaders when I was young. I could see the community feeling pride at the power and quality of their orators. We're starting to be able to do that with these younger speakers we've got today.
Aoraki bound definitely develops one's cultural ability. Yep. Where you may have never stood and been able to speak on the marae, or where you have never really been responsible for leading waiata. Aoraki bound makes that happen.
It's demystified, if that's the right word. Some of the cultural aspects, just some of the marae interaction, simple things like that where, well, at times we were thrown in the deep end, but I mean, you know, made fools of ourselves, got things wrong, but it was within a really safe, accepting environment, and that's been great learning for me. It's given me confidence to keep learning. I've got so much more to learn, but I'm confident about it now and engaged and motivated to keep learning. So I think the value is going to keep giving for a long time.
Yeah, there was so much of it. The mince is just cast and it's frozen. We need to try and break that down.
The fundamental thing that the iwi needs over time, at all levels, all of these people need some sense of the collective purpose of the iwi. It's a sense beyond that which you do. You understand what you're doing, but you're seeing that as a part of an overall river of life of the people, Awa Ora. I think it's that, the sense of being part of that is so important.
I thought the world was about me. I thought the universe revolved around me. I thought I was invincible. You know, I had a lot of these ideas as a young man, or a boy I would call it, that needed to grow up. And part of that is knowing that I'm a part of something. I'm a part of a collective. I'm a part of a group even. That my contribution to that group of 14 made a huge difference.
Before going into AB, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty self-centred. Everything was what I can achieve and where I can head, but now I feel it's more about the community and more about other people. There's so much more out there, and it shouldn't just be about you singly, it should be about everybody, because after all, I'm not going to be here forever.
Going on something like Aoraki Bound makes you realise that things don't just happen. it makes you realise that you can't just take a back seat all the time. That, you know, you've got to contribute, and if, otherwise you just take and expect someone else to make it happen for you.
You're not a one-man army, you have a rōpū, and you have to consider other people, not just yourself. Very first day, meeting everybody, really thought I was in the wrong team. I thought these guys are not where I should be, but definitely even by day 2, you could see that every single person had their job, and we've seen each other in ways that you'd never even picture. We've gotten to know each other more than I could even say I know my own whānau. So I was the least fittest in the whole rōpū. So coming into every challenge, I had to direct my mind into thinking positively. And the last leg was actually one of the hardest because you're so close to the finish line, but it's so far away. But finally, when I seen my rōpū, that was it. The power that that came out, yeah, I did surprise myself. After our haka, what I really liked is that we all actually gave a hug to each other. It's like our final, like, yes, we did it.
Cultural identity is a very important thing, and having some confidence in that cultural identity is important.
They blame transit.
You do need to some degree, to like what you are if you're going to be able to participate in a wider society. And that's what this exercise is about. You can't have confidence unless you know something about it. Loving is above all a matter of knowing. And to know someone and to know a place and to know things is a form of loving. And I think that's what people yearn for. It's that sense of belonging, that sense of being, and to the extent that that is Ngaita.
The key learning I took from Aoraki Bound was being able to understand the land. And I strongly believe that understanding the land strengthens one's identity, yeah, without a doubt.
If there was no whenua, it would be a classroom experience, and I think most people, that's what they've had. They've never walked those trails. They haven't tasted that water that runs from that sacred river. They haven't found that beautiful piece of pounamu that they know is their cultural taonga, or their significant taonga to their tribe.
To stand in your mountain, stand by your mountain or stand by your river, you need, it's who we are, because we use our pepeha. Without a pepeha, we're not, it's hard to identify who you are and where you're from. Straight away they can connect into your whakapapa and know, who you are. So identity, knowing where you're from, whakapapa is very important, and actually knowing where you're from.
In Aoraki Bound, when we come around the corner and we see Pukaki there, the beautiful puna of the Waitaki River, and you look up and you see Aoraki there, there's something really deep within me that gets really moved, an emotion that you don't often feel in daily life, and it reminds me that I'm part of this beautiful whakapapa of landscape and people.
I remember standing at Aoraki on day 20 and saying my pepeha, ko Aoraki te mauka, ko Waitaki te awa, ko Kaitau te iwi, and probably for the first time feeling like I stood tall and I embodied what I was saying. And I think it's very subtle, and I don't know if I can conceptually understand it, but ko au ko te mauka ko au, I am the mountain is me, or ko au ko Aoraki ko au, I am Aoraki is me. And there's something very powerful in that, very, very powerful in that knowledge. You know, people have ideas about what kaitahu are and who kaitahu are, values that we have as a people, that we're all, you know, we're Pākehā, we're a Pākehā tribe, this kind of thing. And perhaps I would have shied away from those kinds of conversations in the past. Perhaps I may even not want to actually identify, but I felt really proud to be kaitahu. I felt really proud of my ancestors, about what they had achieved, that they walked up to Aoraki every summer. They braved those mountains, they crossed Ngoti Raureka, that pass over the Southern Alps, down to the Arahura to get Pounamu and return. They did incredible, incredible things. And I think that's what I felt at Aoraki. I think all of that was alive for me. You know, I'd say it was lying dormant before and it had woken up.
Aoraki Bound was the spark needed to ignite the kindling of my ngaitahu identity, you know. It enabled me to understand the whenua, and through the whenua whakapapa, and through whakapapa whanaungatanga, you know.
There's nothing else we do like it, and I suppose for me personally and the people like me that didn't grow up within the iwi, I see it as a way that we can open a doorway or a gateway for our people that are maybe disconnected.
You know, this is only the start of their journey. Aoraki Bound is like a blip on their journey that, you know, hopefully when they finish, you know, they'll go off and the world's their, you know, the world's their tio, so to speak. That, you know, we've given them a little bit of a taste, and they have to go off and, you know, satisfy it.
I take the view that the whole structure of wealth generation, the whole structure of Te Runanga o Ngāi Tahu has only one primary function, and that is to maintain and flourish the heritage and identity of our people intergenerationally. We've got to give people the opportunity now to participate in that and to grow it, because you don't maintain it and nourish it for no purpose. You maintain it and nourish it so that people will be more fulfilled and have a greater sense of belonging in our place in Te Waipoana.